Hi, and welcome to the Indie Lounge. I'm Mandy Del Rio, your host, and today we're here with writer, director, and producer, Mr. Ted Bohus. Hey, Ted.
How you doing?
Hi, thanks for coming.
Well, it's been great. This is a great area.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go to some of those concerts.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Me too. So you've done a lot of things in your career that I hope we can touch base. I know we've got limited time. But you've been a filmmaker, writer, producer, you've written books, you did a magazine, you had a radio show that became a TV show. So let's get started with your, first things first, let's talk about your film career and how you got started with that.
All right, well, early on, I had a friend of mine, probably in the late 60s, early 70s, Charlie Chuback, who was we started making short films together. And from that, I just said, this might be fun to develop as a career, to get into film. Moved into 16 millimeter and did a few things with some friends out in Baltimore. And finally, I said, you know what? Let's try to make a film, right here, in New Jersey. Called up my friend John Dodds, who is a special effects guy, and I said, let's do a film. And he said, okay. And as simple as that, we put together. I started a company called Filmline Communications and wrote a story called The Deadly Spawn, which I thought was cool at the time. About I read a story about seed pods they discovered in the Antarctic, and they planted them, they grew. And I said, why don't we just stick some kind of dormant organism in a meteor and have it come down? Not realizing it was the blob,
right.
Really. But
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So, but at the time, so we just started like that. And we got a crew together, and we just shot this little film. And oddly enough, it took us about a little over a year to shoot. We shot it in 1982 and 83. And I showed it around, and actually, at the time, Warner Brothers was interested in the film.
Wow.
And they said it was a little too rough, and they never really picked it up. But we finally got theatrical distribution for the film, and it just started just like that. So for the next film, I said I don't want to shoot in 16 anymore. I want to go to 35, and we were going to do a film called Deadly Spawn 2. But we have investors put in like over $1 million for this film, and so they didn't want to really have it associated with that low budget film, because Deadly Spawn only cost us about 19 grand. So we ended up calling the film Metamorphosis: The Alien Factor, and so that was the first bigger budget film we had that did pretty well. We won the Houston Film Award for something or other, who the hell remembers. But and it was good. And from there, I just said, I had a lot of trouble with partners, so I said, I want to do films on my own again, lower budget films that I could have, more control over. So then we did, and I met like Jack. We did The Regenerated Man, Vampire Vixens for Venus. Hell on Earth was a new film we did with some friends. Destination Fame, got into some musical stuff. This Thing of Ours, we did like a mob action film, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. I mean, just going through these films over the years, working with these kind of people,
That's great.
It was fantastic.
Do you have a favorite, or like how do you? And everyone says that films are like your children, and it's hard to pick your favorites and whatnot.
Well, I mean, you always have that part that you like for Deadly Spawn because it was like the first film. But of course, you go to the higher budget films. I mean, films like Metamorphosis or This Thing of Ours, you like only because you have the money to be able to buy, time. In film, buying time is a great thing. You're not rushing through a film that you have to shoot in 6 days or 2 weekends. You can actually shoot a film for months and take your time with the lighting and with the making sure everything is just right. So those bigger budget films, are more fun to watch because you watch the low budget ones and all you remember is the horror of having to go through. I mean, with Regenerated Man, I mean, literally, we're running out of time. We only had till the sun comes up. We're just ripping pages out of the script saying, okay, put the camera down, aim it at these two guys, and we'll get whatever we get in one take, and that's all you can do.
Yeah.
So that's always a pain.
Yeah, definitely. And with the Metamorphosis and This Thing of Ours, I know those were in video stores. I know you got good distribution on those.
Oh yeah, those films were actually, there was a limited theatrical on, well, Deadly Spawn came out and that hit the theaters. They made about 70 prints and that hit the theater. That played all over the world.
That's awesome.
So that was good. We opened right along with Evil Dead. I mean, Sam Raimi was shooting Evil Dead same time we were doing Deadly Spawn, and we used the same lab. And so we were always comparing footage. And he comes in one day and he says, I have an idea. He goes, the name of the film was Book of the Dead, first. He goes, I have an idea. I'm thinking of changing the name of the film to Evil Dead. What do you think? I go, And I said, I think Book of the Dead is much better.
Well,
right. To show you what happened
we all
with that.
know where that went.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right now.
It's too funny.
I'm in Lake Kapatgong, and now he's doing Spider-Man.
You're here on the Indie Lounge.
That's right. That's right, and he's not.
Oh,
so
that's right. So you got one over on him, actually.
That's right.
Now, this thing of ours has some pretty cool guys in it. James Caan and Frank Vincent.
Yeah, Vincent Pastore, Frank Vincent, Chuck Zito, Pat Cooper, Danny Provenzano was my partner on that.
Yeah.
That was just being able to have that kind of money, because that was over $2 million, to have that kind of money on a film, to be able to, to rent those great cameras and hire actors that are fantastic like that. It's another world. It's just, Aerosmith did a soundtrack, Brad from Aerosmith we killed in the film, and just to be able to work with that level of talent was incredible.
Big time. That's great. That's great. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, okay, stay right here, please. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Ted, so please stay tuned. Thank you. Hi, welcome back to the Indie Lounge. I'm Mandy Del Rio, and we're here with Ted Bohus, writer, director, and producer. Ted?
Yes.
Last segment we were talking about films and the films you've done. We briefly went over, you've such a huge catalog of films, so I'm sorry we had to rush through that.
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm curious to get your view on films now. Being an indie, director, writer, and producer, and also you've worked in big budget, lower budget. What do you think the state of film is today? What is your take on that?
I feel sorry for these kids making films today. I mean, it's not like it used to be in the old days. I mean, we used to make a film, and you used to really have to make a commitment, to this film and spend the money. I mean, you used to have to buy film stock, develop, print, edit. It was all done on film. I mean, you really had to have the money to do that. Nowadays, these kids are making films on their iPads. They have all the effects, these wonderful effects available to them. When I did The Regenerated Man, we did one morph. The creature just did one man into the creature, one morph. That cost me $1,000. It was 2 seconds because they charge you per second to do these morphs. Now this is commonplace in the computer. So these kids, they make these films, they shoot with the iPads, they edit them on their computer, they spend like $500 to make it, and they're just thrilled to get distribution. They don't care about making any money. If a company will say, hey, yeah, we'll put it out for you, they're happy to do that. So now, when someone, like all of us, we go out, we'll make these films, and we may spend a couple $100,000 on them. We give them to a, Trimark or whatever, Lionsgate that is now, and they say, well, Ted, we've got like 40,000 films and rooms just stacked up to, to look at it. It's very, very, hard today. So a lot of these kids are never going to get the thrill of being able to have a film, shoot a low-budget film, and have it play in the theater. Yeah. Because that's a lot of fun. When you can actually sit there in a movie theater that's packed with people watching your film, that's fantastic. Not just show it online or have a limited video release where they'll sell maybe 2,000 of these things, and that's really it. So it's very, very tough today for the low-budget filmmaker to to do something. You need to have great locations, actors. I mean, a film nowadays to get into low budget and make money really, really, has to be good, because there's just piles of crap out there.
Oh, I know. And now an indie film now is considered, I mean, they call it an indie film, but it's got like major distribution, major names, And then, you're up against these kids that can put it on YouTube, and they have, I think, YouTube awards now. And I think there was some, like I was talking to you about earlier, I think there's a film in Sundance that was shot on a camera phone or something. I don't want to misspeak.
I remember seeing something about that. Because it's all high def. It's high def. I mean, it's not like, before we used to shoot on a camcorder. It was terrible, but now you're shooting in high def. And we did the film Destination Fame. It was a musical, and we actually had that film that was shot digitally transferred to film, the 35 millimeter, and shown in the theater. Right. And it looked fine. So now I think they said it costs like 50 grand or something to transfer a film to 35 millimeter, which is just fantastic. Yeah. Then you can shoot all your effects and everything digitally in the camera, and then have it all transferred to film. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's another world. It's a different world right now. Yeah, definitely. And there's such a difference between film and digital. For me personally, I really miss that film quality. I'm such a film geek. I love that real, authentic feel. And now,
with the opposite, you can shoot a digital movie to look like film. It's
Oh, yeah.
almost like, you know.
Well, I always termed it, it's like the difference between when you're shooting something on digital or you're shooting something with film, it was like a soap opera. When you look at the soap
yeah.
operas and they looked like that real sort of, you know, thing, and then you look at film, looked all nice and smooth, that was a difference for me. But now, they're pretty much everybody is shooting digital in one way, shape, or form.
Right.
I mean, even like, you know, Peter Jackson is shooting The Hobbit in those films, and you know, now you can watch it at the higher frame rate, and it looks like a soap opera. I mean, it looks, but for me, I don't know, it looks just too real.
Yeah,
it doesn't have that. I like that smoothing effect,
me too.
You know, of film.
Yeah, me too. It really adds the magic. It just does.
So,
well, now let's, as we do have limited time, let's talk about your books and.
Well, I started out with a magazine. I always wanted to publish a magazine. Friends of mine, you know, did that back in the late '60s, early '70s, and I wanted to publish a magazine about special effects in film. So I came up with a magazine called SPFX, which is Special Effects Magazine, and published that for a while. There's only 10 issues because I would only do one whenever I had some new information to put in there and different, you know, photographs no one has ever seen. You know, I didn't want to just come out with these magazines that come out, which is a synopsis of the film. I wanted to have some interesting information, interviews with the, you know, with the people involved. So I did that for a while, and then I decided to write a book called "Making Low-Budget Science Fiction Films: A Real Horror Story," and it just was, you know, just telling the story, the behind-the-scenes story. So it's not only just telling the stories of how these films were made, but hopefully it'll help out filmmakers that are just, you know, getting into this thing to show you what, you know, what you should and shouldn't do, what to watch out for, you know, just how to put together a low-budget film. So. Hopefully, within a year or so, that'll be ready to go.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then what about this comic we've got going here?
The comic book, I'm working with a friend of mine, Anthony Ruggiero, in Florida, and he actually gave me a call one time. He says, "Would you ever think about making Deadly Spawn into a comic book?" And I said, "Yeah." We discussed. I said, "Well, why don't we do something where we'll make a graphic novel, do like a prequel, a sequel, and do the story itself, comic form, graphic novel form, try to sell that to the studios, because right now, those kind of comic things or graphic novels, you know, Walking Dead, all these things are selling, and try to get someone to pick it up, and in this way, someone can have a big budget and buy into the story." So he's drawing and I'm writing, and we're trying to, you know, trying to get that together.
Good luck. That is awesome. That is really cool. What other current projects do you have going on?
Well, I'm still working with some screenplay stuff. I have about half a dozen screenplays I'm working at any given time. I still get a call every now and then, sometimes from Japan. They'll want an Americanized script. So sometimes they'll send me over a script of theirs, and they'll say, you know, "Can you Americanize this for us?" And I'm reading it, and I'm saying, you know, I have a script that's similar to this. So I send them mine. I said, "Why don't you just buy this script from me?" And they say, "Okay." And I said, "And I'll keep this one." So I just take theirs and change it around. And I sell them a script, make a quick sale. So, you know, the writing is fun. I mean, it's something you can do, you know, at home in your underwear. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to do anything. So writing is a lot of fun.
That's great.
And I still do graphics and stuff. So it's, you know,
nice.
Probably semi-retired now at this point, but you know, it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool. Who have been some of your influences as far as all of this stuff, the film, the books?
Well,
who do you like?
This stuff, I like the 50s films.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, there's nothing like, you know, Forbidden Planet, War of the Worlds, Day the Earth Stood Still, The Thing.
Those are great. It came from outer space.
Came from outer space. I mean, this is the stuff that really influenced me. I like the monsters, you know, that kind of stuff was fun for me.
Yeah.
I met people that were into special effects early on, like John Dodds, Vincent Guastini, Dan Taylor. You know, these were like people who were really into effects, so I had people to work with that could do the crazy effects from the films. And so that was the influence then. All the early Jack Arnold, all the early, you know, directors of those 50s, you know, monster films. And now, of course, the Spielberg, you know, and it was funny. My phone started ringing off the hook when, you know, Spielberg did the Jurassic Park thing. In Deadly Spawn, there's a scene where, you know, the hand on the shoulder, you know, trick, you know, the girl sitting there, boom, the hand hits her on the shoulder, you know, you turn around, but in the film, I had the hand was chomped off, it was in the creature's mouth, and it was on her shoulder, so it, you know, fell on the floor.
Cool.
And then he did that same effect in one of the Jurassic Park films, the hand on the shoulder, pulls it, and the hand came off. So my phone just started ringing, so Spielberg took your idea. And I said, yeah, okay.
You never know.
You never know. So, but that's
cool.
something I'd like to have happen, is have some of these low budget, you know, films I did be made into a bigger budget film. You know, if someone wants to, you know, take like a Deadly Spawn or, you know, Regenerate Man, something crazy like that, and make it with a big budget.
Yeah.
I think that would be
That'd be awesome. That's really, well, good luck. I hope it happens, you know.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, what about, we're almost getting close to wrap up this segment. Just wanted to touch on Chiller so we can kind of plug that for April.
Yeah, well, Chiller, you know, about 25 years ago, I guess, I met Kevin Clement from Chiller, and we've been friends ever since. He liked Deadly Spawn. I met him at the very first convention they had, and been to every one. So yeah, I mean, he has. I mean, Chiller Theater is ridiculous. I mean, they not only have, you know, the monster stuff. They got science fiction and horror. They got TV shows. They got musical guests.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. It's an
So
eclectic
much fun.
group of people that get together, and we have the Chiller Theater Cigar Club now. So we all get together, you know, outside. All the people from Walking Dead were outside smoking stogies
That's so cool.
and drinking, or not drinking, but just smoking stogies.
Right.
You know, from like 9 o'clock at night till 5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. So
So
Chiller is, I mean,
fun.
110, 120 guests at a time. It's just,
And that's April 23rd and 24th. That's right.
Yeah, it's 3 days,
Okay.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then there's the other show is in October,
Okay.
which is crazy because at any given time there's like 1,000 people in
I
full
know.
costume walking around
So
that place.
fun. I love Chiller. I
It's
can't wait.
fantastic.
Well, we have to wrap up, but where can we find out more about you, first off? Do you have a
What is it?
website?
Yes, www.thedeadlyspawn.com.
Nice,
And
okay.
I actually put like 7 different websites on one. So when you go there, there's a magazine website, the
Cool.
Cigar Club website, monsters411.com about all kinds of monster films.
All right.
And Pinball 411, which one of my hobbies is collecting pinball machines.
I love pinball. How many pinball machines do you have?
Well, I had 6, and I just recently sold everything.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, because I want to get some of these new machines. Alien is coming out. Predator is
Sweet.
coming out.
Oh,
There's
that's
going to be
cool.
some
Well,
very interesting machines
You
coming
got to
out.
have us over. I love pinball.
Let go.
All right, Ted. Well, thank you so much for coming today. And we're going to wrap up, and hopefully we can, you know, regroup and have you back on in, you know, a few months
Yeah,
and
be fun.
check the status. All right. Thanks so much again.
Thank you.
That wraps up our interview portion of the Indie Lounge, but stick around. We have our film reviewer, Todd Staruch, the horror nerd. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Indie Lounge. We're here with our film reviewer, Todd Staruch, the horror nerd.
Hello, Mandy.
Hey, Todd. How are you?
Oh, I am great.
Good.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it's great. We just had Ted Bohus here.
Where do I even begin when it comes to Ted? I could talk for hours just about his shirts.
Shirts, right?
Right,
I know.
you know?
Sure. Chiller. I'm sure like Norman Reedus talks about the Hawaiian shirts.
Who doesn't? I mean, you can see him from space,
Right.
you know. So, but it's a funny trademark. But
Yeah,
Ted
he's a
is
great
a great guy.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
I've met him at every Chiller for the past, I don't know, 8 or 9 years, and somehow he still doesn't know my name. So, but that's
After
okay.
this, he will.
You know, I'll give him good reviews anyway.
Yeah.
So,
What do we got today?
well, I have a surprise for you.
Oh.
I actually have a cheat sheet this time. So, believe it or not,
Oh,
right?
you rat. Where are mine?
I have a cheat sheet. Well, because Ted has done so many films, you know, that I like.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that I touched on everything. So,
Gotcha.
I'm getting old and I can't remember as much as I used to. So, now I see you have the Deadly Spawn comic here, and the Deadly Spawn is probably the Ted Bohus film that everyone is most familiar with. And there's good reason for that. I mean, it's just a fun, gory, bloody sci-fi romp with a lot of blood, but also a lot of humor, typical of sort of the 1983 to 86 years where there was a lot of that going on. And I love the Deadly Spawn. I'll never get tired of it. But Ted has so many other great movies that he's been involved with. Here we have Metamorphosis, which is another one of my favorites of his, which is another sort of mad scientist movie where medical experiments go horribly awry. And now we have a creature that's on the loose, cutting everyone down. A little more, I think, serious and cerebral than the Deadly Spawn. And I like it a lot. I'm going to consult my notes now. So Then two, I hate to say it, but two that are good, but maybe not my favorites. We have Regenerated Man, which is fun, but in a similar vein to Metamorphosis, sort of another experiment gone wrong. But in this case, the subject is forced to drink the serum, which changes him into this horrible monster, who is now chasing, seemingly only beautiful women around to kill them. So if you see the DVD cover art, you'll know exactly what I mean.
I do know. Jack worked on it, so.
Excellent. Yes, I forgot about that. Sorry, Jack.
Me too.
Oops. Vampire Vixens from Venus. What do you even do? Once you have that title,
right.
you kind of know what that's going to be about. So we have three Venusians come to Earth and disguise themselves as, buxom young ladies and suck the life force from men, but only when these men are at the height of their sexual arousal. So it's a family show, so I'll just let everyone think. I'll let everyone out there just think about that one for a minute. But those movies are fun, if you're going to sit around and say, oh, are these great, cinematic, classics? Maybe to some people they are, but they're just fun, to watch, and I have a good time with my friends watching them, and we laugh, and we giggle. The movie that I want to concentrate on most this time, though, from Ted, is one that I only found out about fairly recently, but I loved it so much. It's called This Thing of Ours. And it's a mafia movie, film noir-ish mafia movie, but sort of brought into the modern day. And this young man and his accomplices have found a way to cheat the banking system using computer technology. So they go to his uncle, who is an old school mafia guy, and they present this plan to him, how they can steal over $1 billion, but they need $50 million in seed money in order to buy this computer chip that's going to allow them to do this. So just the whole dynamic of how the mafia family works and how he goes and he asks for this money. There's a lot of faces that people will recognize from The Sopranos. Frank Vincent Pastore. So it'll suck everybody right in if they're familiar with The Sopranos. And just how it unspools, I just loved it. Some of the stereotypical, mafia banter that goes on, a lot of whackings and killings. But just how I loved how Ted, in his writing, brought old school mafia into the modern day and sort of explained, well, how is the mafia going to use technology in their criminal enterprises? And let's face it, we romanticize the mafia, but they're criminals.
Yeah, right.
They steal, they support racketeering, prostitution, and they're murderers.
Yeah.
And yet we somehow romanticize them. The Godfather, The Sopranos.
The Goodfellas.
Right.
One of my favorites.
Tony Soprano is a big anti-hero.
I know.
Everybody roots for Tony Soprano.
We were just talking about this the other day, Jack and I. That's so funny. Same exact conversation. It's amazing how beautiful you can make the mafia, how appealing and attractive and
right, exactly. Marlon Brando, like everybody loves him. He's a murderer,
right,
okay?
Right,
but,
I know.
But Ted, just the writing is great in the movie. The acting is very good for an indie film. I was blown away when I watched it, and I hope people go to check it out. I managed to see it on Amazon streaming live. But it's This Thing of Ours, which is, is La Cosa Nostra, which is what the mafia is. So I just loved it, and I encourage everybody to check it out.
How many broken eyeglasses?
I am going to give that 4 out of 5 broken eyeglasses. I liked it that much.
Very nice.
And it's sort of so out of character with what Ted had done in the past,
right.
With the crazy blood and gore and sci-fi, that I was even more blown away. And it's just a credit to Ted.
He's a talented
and his
guy.
Writing ability, and and he even has a part in the movie. I won't say what happens to him, but let's just say it is a mafia movie.
Right.
So This Thing of Ours, I loved it. I encourage everybody to see it.
Awesome. And
I want everybody to watch all of Ted's movies because he really is a great guy.
Yep.
So, and I love his shirts.
Me too. All right. Well, thank you so much, Todd. I appreciate it, and great reviews. Where can we find, unless you need your notes for your website?
No, I think I'm okay.
All right, why don't you tell us where we can find more about you?
You can find me on my website, www.horrornerd.net. I'm a Facebook junkie, so find me at The Horror Nerd on Facebook. And you can also check out my event page, Grindhouse Nights at Cafe Z on Facebook. We just had our last event this past Saturday, and it was a blast.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
I'm going to do a quick plug for an upcoming guest that we have and good friend of ours, and that is Jackie Martling, Jackie the Joke Man Martling from Howard Stern fame. He is doing a show April 1st in New York City at the Cutting Room, and you can find out more information about that, www.thecuttingroomnyc.com. It is on April Fool's Day, and I promise you he will be there. So that wraps up the Indie Lounge for today. To find out more about us, you can go to www.indieloungetv.com, and you can find us on Twitter at Indie Lounge TV, and on Facebook, Indie Lounge TV Facebook. So thank you very much, and we will see you next time.
The best criminal minds could easily be successful in legitimate business. But when it's in your blood, it's in your blood.
It was a business ruled by a code.
30 years ago, we knocked off guys in other families, but our own never, no matter what the guy did.
It was a culture defined by tradition.
He's with us. We do that for any member of the family. What do these guys think? It's 1950?
And then some new blood decided to shake up the old guard.
They still think they're making a big score from hijacking trucks. It's about time we brought this thing of ours into the 21st century.
Come on, they're ready for you.
We figured out a way to carjack people on the information superhighway.
What do you need?
50 million in cash.
Do you realize what you're asking?
Yeah, I know what I'm asking. What's in it for us?
1 or 2 billion, maybe more.
1 or 2 billion, maybe more.
Now,
You know you're like a son to me, right? I'm holding you personally responsible.
between honor
If it doesn't work out, we can't just walk away.
and power,
I'm gonna do everything I can to get you kicked upstairs.
between loyalty
They got us.
You don't work for Santini anymore. You're with us now.
I help you, I'm dead anyway.
When you make $1 billion, everybody wants in.
and destiny,
You get that millionaire look about you.
you gain nothing
Sounds like Nick Santini's trying to diversify the family business.
unless you risk everything.
A few loose ends we gotta tie up.
This thing is over.
What'd you expect?
You're going away on this one.
You got an obligation here.
Are you out of your mind?
Who's doing the thinking?
You just made the wrong choice, pal.
So? I want out.
What did you just say to me?